Are billionaires going to be able to destroy unions for good? Trader Joe's, Amazon, SpaceX, Starbucks, all chipping away at the legal foundations that protect workers from the employers. SpaceX and Amazon are arguing that the National Labor Relations Board's structure is unconstitutional in the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in November, after the NLRB filed complaints against both of them. The companies are arguing that they have been denied the right to trial by jury, like it's a criminal case or something. On top of that, Starbucks brought another NLRB decision into the 3rd U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals after having to issue back pay to make 2 employees whole after they fired them. And now, Dartmouth basketball players withdraw their organizing effort in the light of 2 open appointments to the national board under a Trump presidency. All of this is happening as Musk will be appointed to the new DOGE agency, stating, quote, "The new administration will have a mandate to delete the mountain of choking regulations that do not serve the greater good." I guess billionaires get to decide what the greater good is now. In 2023, the NLRB barely had a budget of $300 million to protect workers' rights, and now could totally be on the chopping block. So why do we even need a government agency to protect workers, and where'd it come from? Jumping back into Labor Story in the United States by Philip Yale Nicholson, published in 2004 by Temple Press University. In 1912, President Taft established the United States Commission on Industrial Relations to, quote, "investigate the violent clashes between industrial workers and their employers, and the raising credibility of socialists and other radicals." This also included testimony from John D. Rockefeller Jr. on the Ludlow incident, where in 1914 a tent colony of strikers and their families met their tragic end whenever the camp was encircled and then set on fire, including women and children. The committee was made up of 9 commissioners, 3 from labor, 3 from business, and 3 from the public. The committee held a wide-ranging and comprehensive investigation, highlighting that the richest 2% of this country owned 60% of the wealth. The committee concluded their report in 1915, highlighting the managerial autocracy in the country and stressed the need for industrial democracy to achieve harmony in the workplace and stability in society. Managerial autocracy? I feel like I've seen that somewhere before. The chair of the committee recommended a host of social proposals for workers, including a federal tax policy to redistribute wealth more equitably, unemployment protection and compensation, and retirement pensions guaranteed by law. Man, these 1915 guys are pretty woke. The chair condemned militarism, Taylorism, and the concentration of wealth. This served as the foundation for the New Deal that was to come. By the early 1930s, the Great Depression was in full swing. Homeless encampments are in every major industrial center. Mass protests are in every major city. See, the conventional wisdom of the time was that government did not intervene on behalf of impoverished people. But business, that was a different story. And critiques started coming up about how the USSR was not in a depression when America was, although political tyranny hadn't really come to the surface yet. The workers at that time had no official or institutionally sanctioned voice, no numerically significant political party, and no organizational vehicle to represent their interests. The people of the country wanted a government that took their interests as seriously as it did those of business. I swear I've seen this movie before. Then enters Franklin Roosevelt and the New Deal, injecting billions of dollars into public projects to super boost the economy, creating millions of jobs, and introduced the National Industrial Recovery Act, which included Article 7A, stating that, quote, "employees have the right to organize and bargain collectively through representation of their own choosing, and shall be free from interference or coercion of the employers." And therein lies the 90-year systematic attack on workers. In 2023, it was estimated that employers spend more than $400 million a year on union avoidance consultants. Mind you, the budget of the NLRB is only $300 million. Although the NIRA was overturned by the Supreme Court, what could be salvaged turned into the National Labor Relations Act, which maintained Article 7 and established an authority to mediate, arbitrate, conciliate, and oversee collective bargaining, the National Labor Relations Board. Businessmen bitterly fought these New Deal creations and almost won. To quote Nicholson, "democracy is messy, inherently radical, and almost always perceived as dangerous to owners of capital and the elite institutions that capital creates." Where we are today. The board filed against SpaceX for unlawfully firing an employee who wrote an open letter that was critical of Musk, insinuating that the employees were being surveilled. Amazon objected to a union election by employees in New York after the NLRB brought suit to reinstate a fired organizer too close to an election. You know, not one time in history has a business leader been jailed for these violations, no matter how grievous. But the consequences to these violations have very significant impacts in the everyday lives of working class people. Look, I get it. People don't want to be taxed on their overtime. But what good is that if your wages can be arbitrarily cut, or if you have no worker protections while you're earning those wages? So why would employers want the NLRB ruled unconstitutional? It's pretty simple. It puts guardrails on the uneven playing field of managerial autocracy and gives the workers one tiny little voice. You know, the stuff they were talking about in 1915. So read books, not memes, and support your local bookstore.